Computer. Recording. Says it's recording. I believe it. I believe you, AI. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining us here today. Welcome to our seminar, Hard Truths for a Solid Foundation for Home Ownership and Wealth Building, taking place today, November 2nd, 2024. We're excited to have you as we explore the essential steps of preparing to buy a home, navigating the home buying process, and the responsibilities of home ownership. I'm honored to introduce our expert speaker, Thomas Johansson from the Johansson Mortgage Group and Edge Finance. He's going to guide us through the financing aspects of buying a home. And I am from Realty One Group Choice, and I'm going to share my insights into the real estate market and effective buying strategies. Together, Thomas and I will help you uncover the hard truths that can lead to successful home ownership and wealth building. Let's dive in. You ready?
All right. Hey, Pierre, appreciate you having me. It was really exciting when you said you wanted to do this. Pierre Barnes, by the way, everybody here is just a great guy, great realtor. We've known each other for a few years now. Done a lot of things together in and out of this business, helping people with buying homes and getting into homes. And of course, as a realtor, getting out of homes, selling homes. And we do some things on our side too in finance. So we're going to get into a lot of things that I'm just really looking forward to that because there's a lot that people don't understand or misunderstand, and basically how you approached it with me was, you know, let's go through some of those things that people misunderstand, and there's a lot when it comes down to each of those sections. So we're going to do three different videos in this series. Preparing to buy a home is today. Buying a home, that'll be next time, and owning a home. So that should be a fun time for us, and hopefully for all of you as well watching this either now or after the fact.
Awesome. Well, let's get this started. Series one, preparing to buy a home. Name a myth that you know about what people say about preparing to buy a home.
Yeah. Okay. We'll name some myths. So we got a handful of these already ready, the ones that we hear a lot of the time. And then, of course, we'll have some more coming in. If there's time, we can get to those. But, one of the first things that I had mentioned to Pierre that I've seen is people think that you only really need to talk to a realtor to buy a home or to prepare to buy a home. And that's a myth because, of course, you need to have a little bit more than that for a variety of reasons. Um, First and foremost, most people will need to have some kind of financing. So you got to talk to a loan officer, a lender, and get in there. Um, Also, you really should talk to people, friends, family, people that know you to get some of the things that they know as far as their expertise, as well as
Yeah, I'm
some of the
recording.
experiences that they've had. You want to learn from the people around you. The thing is, when you're with a really good realtor, especially, they're going to also connect you to other people that you should talk to. If you don't already have a financial planner or expert that can help you with bigger questions in your life, that's a really important thing. On top of that, you got to have insurance, you got to have title when you want to buy a house. So there's a lot of preparation that can go into it. But first and foremost, yeah, you're going to need to talk to a loan officer and lender if you need financing of any kind. So that's
Yep.
that's the first one that we had talked about. Now
Yep.
here's the second one for you, Mr. Realtor, Pierre.
Right.
Do you even need to have a realtor anymore? I know I've heard some people say, "Oh yeah, with like realtors aren't really as necessary. I can just go online. I can go
Right.
to that Z Word website or
Exactly.
realtor.com, just go and buy a house by myself, right? Can't I do that?"
Right. Many people believe that with the abundance of online resources and real estate platforms that they can successfully buy or sell a home without the assistance of a realtor. This myth, it actually suggests that real estate agents are unnecessary intermediaries, who add to costs without providing significant value. And we all know that that's not true. Um, why do people believe this myth? Because of access to information and low fees. Some people are motivated by the desire to have lower fees, but they don't realize that they're paying for it on the other end. So if they're not paying for it with the realtor, they're going to pay for it with a lawyer. That lawyer is not going to have that type of time to or go open up a house for you or make sure the house is open for you that you want to go and look at. They're not going to be there for you the way that a realtor will be. So that's just one of the myths because they're going to end up spending $400 an hour on this on this lawyer that's going to be going through all the paperwork and making sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. Yeah.
I want to add to that. I want to jump on what you were talking about with saving money. I think one of the biggest myths about saving money with buying a home is that every dollar counts the same. And what do I even mean by that, first of all? Well, you got your dollars that you're literally going to spend to buy the house, right? You got your dollars of the cost of the house. You're buying, let's say, a $300,000 house. You got the dollars that you're paying the realtors, right? And the other people. And a lot of times the way we think about money is like a dollar is a dollar is a dollar. But that's not really true, unfortunately, always. By that, I mean, yes, of course, in some respects, we measure it the same way, but we all know a simple example is there's pre-tax dollars, there's post-tax dollars, right?
Right.
You make $100 pre-tax, well, post-tax, it might only be 70, 80, whatever, after federal and state take their piece, maybe even less. Well, it's kind of true also with real estate. That is, like you said, you get what you pay for. And if you're paying very little for, let's say, no realtor at all, first of all, well, you're going to be blocked access,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That's what
100%.
something I've seen all the time. I've had it happen a few times where clients come to me first and say, "Oh, no, I don't really want to use a realtor. I just want to go find a house myself." You find it online. What they do is those online places like the Z Word website
Right.
and
Or the R
realtor.com.
word.
I call them
Yeah.
the Z Word because I don't like that company. I don't
Right.
think they have people's best interest at all in
No.
mind. And they're that one of the types of company that want to do literally everything they possibly can and take it away from everybody and not really provide expertise. That's they do have a nice looking website, but honestly, realtor.com is a good one too. So
Right.
anyway, when you go there to really any of these websites, you click few times here or there, they're going to ask for your information. They're going to ask for your information and they're going to get you in touch with, surprise, a realtor. This is not a realtor that you've had recommended to you, that you have a relationship with, that someone that you know has a relationship with. This is just someone that's paid basically for a lead. They're going to treat you like a lead.
Oh yeah.
And when you're a lead, you get treated more aggressively, less sensitively, less patiently. So we see that right there. But you're blocked access, right? If you don't have a realtor, good luck trying to get actually in touch and just go and buy a house all the way through without a realtor. And you already mentioned all the issues with the legal fees.
And not
Okay,
only that,
next one. Yeah,
you got the networks and resources, like you were saying, the inspectors, the appraisers, the contractors. These are people that we know personally that they're gonna make sure that they do a good job in regards to fulfilling their duties to you because they feel like they owe it to me to be able to do a good job for you. But if you're just treated like a number, we're just going to send you to the next person right down the street. And you rather know
absolutely.
your realtor personally. You rather know that your realtor knows his lender personally and they're good friends. And you want to know that your realtor knows the contractor, knows the appraiser, knows the inspector. And they're just not sending you somewhere just to get a quick buck. That's why.
Absolutely. So the other two aspects of cash that I talked about with that myth that a dollar is a dollar is your cash to close and the cost of the house. And what do I mean by that? That they're really not the same measurement exactly is, well, you're buying this a house financed, right? If you're using a mortgage, okay? The house is not going to appreciate more just because you use a mortgage or buy it cash. People don't think about that a lot of the time, but
Okay.
we don't look at home appreciation and say, "Oh, was there a mortgage on this house? Was it cash?" That doesn't matter when you're valuing homes, right, Pierre?
Right.
So there's that first of all. then we're really looking at that opportunity cost of the money. And by that I mean is, okay, let's say you're buying $100,000 house. I like using 100 because it's simpler. And if you're a veteran, by the way, Pierre, you're a veteran. We appreciate your service that you gave to the country. You can qualify for a VA loan, which is a 0% down or 100% financing type of loan. So basically, no cash in. So you get a $100,000 loan on one hand. Or let's say you got a $100,000 cash, you want to put that down. Great. Here are these two options. So now we have that example of it's not the same thing either way. On the one hand, you're paying interest. Okay. Oh, that's not great. Obviously, who likes paying fees? Not amazing. It's like 7% national average rate right now. On the other hand, really, and this is the bigger question, when you start talking about wealth building and what wealthy people do is what are you going to do with this cash? And honestly, that's one of the biggest things that I talk about with people when it comes to growing and building your wealth. And we're going to talk about in the next video series as well is you don't become wealthy just by owning a home. It
Right.
doesn't make you wealthy. It really doesn't. You have to have multiple strategies of how are you managing your budget, making sure you make more than you spend. That's good anyway, even if you don't own a home. Of course, and that's going to be important for preparing to buy a home to save up. But then ultimately, how are you investing money? Are you investing money at all? Do you understand how to do that? Do you have a financial planner? I'm not a financial planner. You're not a financial planner. We
Nope.
know good financial planners. There are
Yep.
many of them out there. But there's also a lot of financial theory out there that you can read on your own so that you're more educated when you talk to one. So in this latter example of $100,000 cash, let's say, hey, you're deciding to put that into the market and now it's growing. So you got to think about that and look at, well, which one do I feel more comfortable with? Because you hear people get a lot of returns here and there sometimes on cash, right? Historical average on the S&P 500, that's like 9-10%. No guarantee of that in the future. Obviously, you take risks on any investment, but that's higher than that interest rate even today at 7. Okay. This is math that you got to think about. And it's not as simple as, oh, let's avoid all fees, because that is one way of looking at money. But I'll just tell you
Right.
right now, the wealthiest people in the world, as in our country, as in our community, they really understand the advantage of leveraging your cash and leveraging debt. So leveraging your cash on the one hand of putting it into investments. Don't just let it sit as cash. You still got to have some leveraging your financing on the home so that you're getting into good financing terms. And what
Right.
are those and why? We'll get into a little bit of that later. But anyway,
I
that
like.
was the do you need a realtor anymore? I'll say as a loan officer that's worked with people that have not used realtors against my strong recommendation. It's just happened a couple times. Um, it does not go well. It's been between family members, between friends. They thought, oh, we don't need a realtor. We found somebody direct. You can still use a realtor to act as a facilitator that's going to help you with filling out that documentation to be an intermediary to ensure that it's done well and
Right.
that there's legal protection for both sides because part of what realtors do uh, through their brokerage licensed realtors I'll say is provide some protections for both sides or any side that they represent, and that's really critical that you're filling out that paperwork well, that you understand what you're getting into, because there are sayings related to not mixing, friends and family with your money, right? You got to be careful about that stuff. And those are sayings for a reason. It can really get ugly fast. So, yeah, on that note, I think it's a good segue into our next question. What's the difference between different realtors? There's a myth on, working with just about any realtor will be some pretty much the same experience. I think that myth gets driven by how many realtors there are out there that you talk about wanting to buy a home or you say you're looking for a realtor and all of a sudden, you're at a cafe, a restaurant, you're working out and people are just coming up to you. Oh, I'm a realtor. My mom's a realtor. My cousin's a realtor. You know, my auntie's best friend's a realtor, or even in your family. You may have family members that are realtors or whatever, and that's great. Definitely, it's good to trust people and earn, rather, excuse me, have people earn your trust if you don't know them and go through trusted people. But ultimately, you really want to find somebody that has the experience and expertise that you're looking for. And trustworthiness again is something that is earned. It shouldn't just be given freely, um, willy nilly. So on that, Pierre, love to hear more of what you have to say about that. With that myth that it's going to be the same experience with all realtors, so you can just go with anybody.
Okay.
The
Oh,
next one
yeah.
we
You
had
were talking
was,
about why you need a professional realtor,
yeah,
why you need somebody that's going to actually put in the work and put in the hours, or somebody that has already put in the hours and put in the work. Yeah, so definitely find somebody you trust. But at the same time, yeah, you can't just go with any realtor, of course. You definitely got to go with somebody that is determined and strong-willed, somebody that's a good negotiator, somebody that's going to make sure that your needs are being met and at least meet 5 of the 10 top needs that you're asking for in a house. Somebody that's going to go the extra mile, and somebody's going to check for certain things in a house. The foundation, is it, is it gonna stand long enough? Is the roof nice enough? Like, has it been over 10 years? Do you have somebody that's gonna read over the pre-assessments of the house to make sure that you're getting a really good deal, and you're not getting you're just not buying any house because of the aesthetics. You have to get a realtor that's going to look a little bit deeper for you, so you're not running into issues later on.
absolutely. Well, the next one's similar, right? It's with on my side that working with any loan officer and bank will be pretty much the same experience, right? That's another myth that people have. Sometimes they say out loud. Usually, it's just implied with going anywhere and not really asking for advice and guidance on that. And we see that in a number of ways. People, not unlike with going online just to find houses and to find any old realtor that they come across without looking for trust, we'll just go online and say, okay, where's the cheapest possible rate? That's my goal.
Right.
Well, the thing is, most lenders, their variance in rates are not that much. And in fact, oftentimes the best possible rates you can get are not going to be the ones that are advertised online. That's kind of a surprising also myth for a lot of people, that we can typically beat, we as lenders, not just myself, oftentimes beat what's being advertised. It just depends on a variety of factors. Um, and the thing is, so let's look at it first on the bank level. There are definitely differences between, giant banks, small banks, credit unions, and everything in between. Certainly, it's going to be a different experience from one to another, and there will be some different products and loan offerings from one to another. But on that latter part, it's really not oftentimes a huge difference. There are only so many different loans, and most people are getting a 30-year fixed interest conventional or FHA or VA loan, um, especially for their first home, but even on repeat purchases. Outside of that, 15-year is the next option, and that covers the vast majority, more than 95% of homeowners that are looking to buy. If you're an investor, that's a separate world. And certainly there's some specialties there that matter. So you want to work with a loan officer that has that expertise. And that's definitely something that I focus on as well. But um, ultimately, it does come down to the individual, I would argue, even more so than just looking at the bank alone. The bank still matters. And of course, a good individual will align themselves with a good bank or lender. In my case, currently, I'm a broker. I've really enjoyed doing that. Um, Basically, that means that in our case, we have over 150 different banks that we work with and lenders from around the country, which is really great.
Okay.
Gives
So,
us pretty much every possible product. But, just like if you have other people you work with, we've all had this situation where we've got colleagues that have very similar background experience, but we know if a client or customer comes to work with us, it's going to be very different versus this person in the next cubicle over or the next desk over or whatever.
right.
Just because you're at the same place does not mean every lender and person is going to be the same.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad from one to another always. It might be, and it can be for sure. It can just be a personality thing too. Just like you were saying with the realtor side, you want to make sure that you fit with that person's
Right.
personality for what you need, right? You want somebody, I would argue, that's not just going to be a yes person, yes man, yes woman, whatever you want to call it. That's
Right.
just saying, okay, you're asking me questions, you're saying, what should I do? What should I do? And always just saying yes, not giving you any kind of insight or guidance or additional info, right? Hey, I want to do 20% down. I look at it, yes, you can, and I don't say anything else. Like, I don't even ask what the goals are related to cash or anything like that. I would say that that's an injustice to, and that's outside of the ethics of what we should be doing for the client. You want to understand the bigger context, not just literally, can you qualify for this, but what are your life goals? What are your house goals, right?
Right.
How do we fit those things and merge them together? Right? In your side, what kind of time are you looking to buy this house? And when do you want to buy this house? Nights, weekends, during the day? How can we make this work for you with your life? Um, so all that stuff matters a lot, and communication matters a lot. How are people communicating? Is it some clients I have really want to do in person? Others want to do all over the phone. I've had a few more technical types that want to do basically as much as possible over email, and some others that want to do a lot over text. That's fine. There are times where I have to say, okay, and I do need to have a conversation, or I do need to, do some things a little differently than what your maybe preferred route is, because it's important to have some back and forths, especially. We still want to have a conversation. I think that's also related to building the trust, because I want to make sure with my clients that I'm a good fit for them as well, and they're a good fit for me. I'm not just taking on every single client, no matter what they're asking for. If I'm not capable of it, and I see that's not going to be a good fit, where I might say, hey, this person over here is going to be a better fit for you. I know they specialize in what you're looking for, and that's the right thing to do.
Right.
So that
Oh,
I again, in summary, just want to say the myth is no, not all banks and lenders are the same. No, they don't all have the same product offerings. On that note, if you get denied with one, don't give up. Ask for help. Ask people, hey, do you know another bank? Do you know another loan officer? You can always reach out to myself, Pierre. Obviously, I'm a loan officer. Pierre knows others as well. And get a second opinion on stuff. If one tells you no, and especially if they don't tell you why or what you can do then to get qualified, that should be a red flag. It shouldn't just be a no, uh, as I argue, and that's it, right? That's a bad sign.
right.
You want to know why, and there are so many programs out there all the time. There's so many new programs coming out all the time. We have this Minnesota First Generation home buyer program here in our state, um, and we see that all over the country as well. So yeah, different experiences across the board.
Right. So what I
Uh,
hear you saying is while it is technically possible to approach any lender for a mortgage, it is essential that to understand that not all lenders are created equal. Choosing the right lender can significantly impact your home buying experience, financial costs, and long-term financial health. And to make informed
Absolutely.
decisions, potential homebuyers should research and compare lenders, their offerings, and the specific terms that they provide.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, I'd say find the right one. You know what I mean? Find the right one. It's not
Right.
unlike finding the right realtor. Sometimes the right one is the first one you find, and they really are able to check the boxes and do some comparison for you. Um, it's the same thing with finding the right realtor. It's the same thing with finding the right, you know, intimate partner.
Right.
Um, it might be right away. Sometimes people marry their childhood sweetheart and it works out right away. You know what I
Right.
mean? And they're happy ever after. Sometimes you got to date around a little bit. It depends, and obviously it's not the exact same thing, but it is a very big decision in life. So in that way, it's similar, and you want to make sure you're confident about it either way, and that the person that you're talking to is answering your questions, giving you guidance, and making you feel heard and confident.
Okay.
Now, on that note, we have another one. I don't know if there's any audience questions yet, but we do have another one that is another myth that you need to be wealthy and have perfect credit to buy a house. And yeah, I mean, I can speak to that, but why do you think that that's a myth, Pierre? Why do you think that so many people might think that?
Let's see. Because it's probably the biggest purchase that anybody is going to make in their life is going to be a home. $350,000 is the average cost of a house plus in Minnesota. So if you're looking for your dream house and you're looking at all these prices of these houses, you're just kind of like, you got to be rich to afford that. But when you sit down with a lender, you sit down with a financial advisor, they're able to break things down for you into small steps and get you to understand that you're paying off this amount of money in a 30-year time span. Most of the time it's 30 years. You can break it down to 25 or 20 if you like to pay things faster. But for the most part, you're breaking this payment down into 30 years, which is 12 months a year. So like yeah, when you put that into perspective, the number is a lot smaller than what what your first mind comes to believe in. So the myth that you need to be wealthy and have perfect credit to buy a house is rooted in the misconceptions and limited understanding of mortgage process.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
right? So the various financing options and support programs exist to help people and individuals achieve home ownership regardless of their financial background. And by educating yourself and exploring available resources, potential home buyers can overcome these barriers and work towards their goal of owning a home if they just take time.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll get a little more specific than that, that um there are limits that like you do have to have some credit. Well, technically there are programs that have no credit, but I'll just tell you, on my side, I see what the rates are, what the requirements are at different levels. Because the way it works is it's sort of like you're using Amazon or something where you can set tons of filters for what you're searching for, or Google allows you to do that too, right? That's sort of how it works on the lending side when we put in a whole bunch of different factors. Like here, there's the credit score, here's the down payment amount, here's like the income amount and debt amount. And then we come up with a set of programs. Is this person a first-time home buyer or not? Where are they looking to buy? Okay. Those are most of them. And ultimately, of course, and what's the house that they're trying to buy? Is it a single family home, condo, townhome, uh, duplex, something like that? And it is true that with different factors, you get different products offered. And it is true that there are thresholds. Minnesota housing, for example, you got to have 650, I always say 660 basically plus credit to get those down payment assistance loans. Um, a lot of the best programs require around that amount plus. You can technically get a loan down to, if you have a credit score, down to very, very low scores, but it's a cost benefit. By that I mean is, well, if your score is 500 and you're going to require then 10% down payment on an FHA loan and your interest rate's going to be like 9%, maybe more, versus if you just get it up to 620, I oftentimes recommend work to get it 620. Even 580 is going to be a lot better. Well, now you can do 3.5% down, and now your interest rate's going to be maybe, let's say, 7% right now. I'm not actually quoting real numbers. I'm giving examples that it's just much better. Um, and what's the cost of getting there, right? There's so much more cost and fees when you have lower credit. Work on your credit. Don't give up. Some of the biggest issues I see with clients is they get excited about home buying, and then when they find out, oh, I got, a couple things I got to work on. I can't buy right this second. A lot of the time it is related to some credit stuff of, okay, let's get, some of these payments, like maybe some things are in collection or charge off accounts. Um, we got to take care of some of those. And that may be a lot of the time, unfortunately, it's incorrectly reported. That's really common. There are excellent nonprofit organizations out there that you can get help with this for free, where people will help you say with figuring out exactly what you need to do, but then you need to do it. You need to actually go through, collect the information, make some calls, make some emails, write some letters. You can, of course, go another step and pay for help. There are credit repair places. A lot of them are not good, I will say right now, because they make money off of just, per month charge. So they're not really incentivized to get moving quickly. There are other services as well. I like to just talk to people about what the options are, and I can certainly give a lot of detail on some of what needs to be done, but I'm not specifically a credit consultant on the same level that many others are. Um, when it comes to down payment and cash to close, you got to have basically minimum 1,000, and I recommend 2 or 3,000 in the bank to buy a house. You basically do, or you have to have it in the form of gift funds from like a family member or something like that. Um, and that's just unfortunately the way it is. You can't just buy a house for nothing most of the time. There are cases where we can make that work and structure a loan to do that. But one of the biggest challenges, we'll talk about it in our next video, is when you make an offer, you also put down some money, right? It's called earnest money. It's like a rental deposit, sort of, but for purchasing a house. And it's a way that you show not only that you're making this offer uh, with a pre-approval letter from a lender, that someone that's gone through your entire situation and made sure, hey, they're good to get this house financed from everything that we see. But then it's an extra show of basically uh, good faith, and commitment is the word I was looking for, commitment to buy that house. So you're putting down $1,000, right? Something like that. Usually it is at least $1,000 or around there and up. It can even be 2%, 3% of the purchase price in some instances, especially if you get really competitive and depending on, the house and a variety of things. So that's important. You got to have some cash in the bank. And depending on the house that you're looking for, it could be a lot more than just, one to $3,000 or whatever. Um,
Right.
if you want to get a multifamily home, it's going to be more. Those cost more. It's going to be a higher amount. Of course, how much down payment assistance we can get for you, depending on your situation, helps drive that as well, up or down. So we talked about credit. We talked a little bit about cash you got to have, debt to income. Okay, that's a really important thing that lenders look at as well. So what that means is we look at your pre-tax income. Let's say you're making $5,000 pre-tax a month. That's 60,000 a year. Okay. And let's say you have $1,000 in like credit bills, car loan, all your loans right now, student loans, everything. It totals to $1,000. Okay. So we look at that ratio. We call that 1,000 divided by 5,000. That's 1/5 or zero point 0.2. Okay, that's that ratio. Well, then we add in that future housing cost. Okay. So you're looking at a house, and if its monthly payment is $1,500, that'd be pretty low in this market, by the way. That would equate to, you know, $200,000 house or less, more or less with today's rates. Um, but that would be, we'd add those two together. $1,000 on all your debts plus 1,500 all in. So that's the mortgage plus homeowners insurance plus mortgage insurance if it's required, which it likely would be in this instance. And then uh, plus property taxes. Okay, we don't add in utilities, we don't add in maintenance, but those are also costs that you got to consider. Okay. Um, 1,000 plus 1,500, that's 2,500 divided by 5,000, that's 50%. That's about the maximum that you can possibly qualify for oftentimes. We can go a little higher than that with FHA and VA loans under some circumstances. Sometimes it's required to be lower than that. A lot of the time it can be. It might only be zero point 0.4 instead of 0.5. So that means both the income and the debts matter, basically. So you want to get that minimum monthly debt payment down. That means basically budget. Budget, make sure you're making more money than you're spending. Try not to use credit cards as much as you can. Those we get so caught up with mortgage interest rates because those are big headlines on big costs, right? 7%, that sounds like a ton compared to where it was 3% not that long ago. Well, did you know that credit card interest is more like 20%, even as high as 30% interest? Way, way, way higher. A 20% interest rate on a $10,000 balance on credit card is $2,000 a year. That's a lot of money that you're spending in fees. That's a lot. And that's an issue that a lot of Americans are having right now that they don't talk about enough to get help with. You got to get out of the credit debt. Those points that they offer, that's really a lure to get you to use those cards more. Don't fall for it. Okay? The thing is, when it comes to credit card usage, less is the best. And it is good, it's true to use them just for like 20, $40 a month on each card that you have, but don't really use it for more than 5% of your total available balance if you can help it. Just don't. You use debit cards, use cash, use checks. Um, that's a really good way to go. Um, but yeah, you think about it and just do the math. It's like you get 1% on $10,000. That's only $100. That's only $100. If you spend $10,000 on a credit card and they're saying, oh, 1% cash back or even 2% cash back, that's only $200. While that's great, I'm telling you, if your credit's getting hurt, you're spending way, way, way more money in that, not only on a mortgage, okay, also the homeowner's insurance, that's going to be impacted by your credit. Car insurance, your car insurance is going to be impacted by it. It's impacted and you don't even realize it. Most people don't. And there are other things too. Jobs look at credit. There's so many. I'm sure there's a lot of things that we don't see that looks at credit. If you're getting a car loan, all these types of things are impacted by credit. So you benefit by being disciplined in this.
Right.
And I would love to see a cultural shift in America where we just really get off credit in this sense. It's just too much reliance on credit cards. We've all been there. We all do it. I do it as well
Yeah.
as needed.
Me
So
too.
give yourself grace, have humility with it, but also reduce that as much as you can. Then the other side, the last side, which you're very experienced with also, is how do you get more income, right? How do you ask for help to get more income? Maybe it's switching to a better job. Maybe it's asking for a promotion at your work. Um, Maybe it's getting a second job.
Maybe.
I will say with second jobs, we can't use that income in the same way that we can use first jobs right away. You got to have 2 years of experience uh, of working both jobs. Now you can switch the first job and everything, but you got to have that second job consistently.
Yeah.
So sometimes people think, oh, if I just work two, three jobs, I can just use all that income towards the mortgage. It gets complicated, basically. Not
Right.
in the same way. We really look at that first job primarily.
Right.
If you've been doing it for a long time, as I already said, then hey, yeah, we can. But it's not as simple as, well, oh, I only need another $500 a month. I'll just go pick up some shifts at a new job. Great, but we can't use that for a little while. What we could do is maybe we bring a cosigner in, and now we have more than one person on the mortgage. If they're not paying for the mortgage, um, and you are, then after 12 months of you being the one paying it, so long as you're willing to provide the bank statements, they can even have that mortgage not count against them when they go to apply for a loan. But it should be, I argue, the goal to try to refinance that person off as soon as possible if they're truly a cosigner, just so you get the purchase. And I will say with an asterisk, I can't speak to car loans or credit cards or anything else. I'm just all I can say is from my experience as a mortgage loan officer with the banks that I have worked with and worked for, that we can exclude under some circumstances that debt when someone is applying for a new loan and they haven't been the one paying it, even if they're a cosigner, so long as they can prove it. They have to have 12 months of bank statements showing that it's been paid. Okay. And still, you want to talk to make sure and go through with whoever loan officer, even if it's me, because there's more details to it than just that. But yeah, so that's kind of it. Credit, assets, like I said, cash to close, your debts and the income. Those are the main things you want to get in alignment again with the property that you're looking at, and you'll be ready to go. Um, that might take a month, a year, it might take several years to get all of that in alignment, but
Yep.
don't give up. That's the
Don't give
last
up.
thing I'll say is, right now on that point, I know I was talking for a while. Don't give up. It will happen. Absolutely. When you have the right people and you have the right information.
Yep. As you heard Thomas the great say, don't give up. Those are like this is the whole part of this whole thing is just to tell you not to give up on yourself. Home ownership is achievable. Many people from diverse financial backgrounds successfully purchase homes. Um, Proving with the right resources, education, and support, home ownership is attainable for any broad range of individuals than commonly perceived. So the conclusion of this part is the myth that you need to be wealthy and have perfect credit to buy a house is rooted in misconceptions and limited understanding of the mortgage process. Various financing options and support programs exist to help individuals achieve home ownership, regardless of their financial background. By educating themselves and yourself and exploring available resources, potential home buyers can overcome these barriers and work toward their goal of owning a home. And with the help of somebody like Thomas Johansson as your mortgage lender, or me, Pierre Barnes, as your realtor, and my various resources and connections, we can get you in the home that you and your family deserve and desire.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, yeah, I mean, we pre-approve you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
One of the myths is we talk to a loan officer and then what? They just give you a loan, like they give you, a big old bag of money or something. Obviously,
Yeah.
no one really thinks that now, but like in
Right.
the old days, especially in movies, you see that like someone talks to a banker. It's like approved and denied. Maybe that was how it happened exactly. I can't say. I know there's a lot of problems in our financial world, broadly world, much less in our country, much less, in our community, we can say. And you and I both believe in the power of change and in working hard towards good change, and that takes effort for us to inform one another and work on that. Um, and all I can say is, again, it should be a conversation. And when we pre-approve you as loan officers, some lenders call it pre-qual, but for most of us, it's pre-approval where we're looking at your credit, we're going through your credit in detail. Boxes have been checked. Maybe we said, hey, you got to pay down some debts here or there. We got to take care of a collection here or there. But now, good. We've gone through and gotten your statements, your bank statements. We need a couple months of bank statements at a minimum. We need to have W-2s from your job if you're a W-2 employee. We need to have 30 days of pay stubs from each job. We need to have your ID. We need to know who you are, and we verify that. Passport can work, driver's license. Um, if you're an immigrant, we need immigration paperwork. But immigrants can buy houses. Sometimes people don't realize that. Absolutely, it's one of the nice things that we have in our country, that we have so many different options. Um, but yeah, we put all these things together, and we might even do verifications with your job depending on the type of income that you have. If it's variable from week to week and you're not a salary employee, that's okay. It just might take a little bit more paperwork and verifications to make sure we get that amount done. But we then get a letter and say, great, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, um, here you are pre-approved to a $350,000 house, single family home. That's what you want. Great. Uh, the same application and same pre-approval, we can adjust that if, hey, all of a sudden, you know what, I am thinking about a duplex. Hey, duplex could be a good way to go because then I'm renting the second unit, and my effective mortgage payment, monthly payment rather than mortgage. Let's say the mortgage is $4,000, but if you're collecting $2,500 of rent, now you're only paying $1,500 on what's left. I'm just giving rough examples there. I can't promise that exists,
Anywhere,
out of the gate, but it does in general
yeah.
conceptually exist, and you can get things like that. Um, and so then I send you off or we as loan officers send you with the realtor to look at things, while also, of course, running numbers for you. You got to understand what are the numbers going to be at the end of the day. Okay. What is your cash to close going to be? What's the monthly payment going to be given this $350,000, in this case, hypothetical purchase of a single family home? and you want to understand those fees. And
Right.
then how is it going to change? Interest rates go up and down. Hey, what about on this house? Do you know how to calculate the cash to close, excuse me, the monthly payment numbers yourself? We teach you that as loan officers. So a lot of it then is really pivoting to conversations and work with the realtor. And that's really the process of buying the house. That's that next video. I'm wondering if we had any questions, Pierre, from the audience that you saw.
Um, let's see. Any I didn't see any questions. Uh, I think we pretty much touched on everything on pre-qualifying to in
Preparing.
pre-preparing, to
That's
buy
right.
the house. I think we touched on pretty much everything. And just gonna do the wrap up now.
All
So,
right.
yep. So, as we wrap up this first part of our seminar, we want to thank you for your engagement and enthusiasm today. We hope that the insights shared by Thomas and I have provided you with the valuable knowledge and a clearer understanding of the home buying process and the responsibilities that come with home ownership. Um, Remember that the journey to home ownership is not just about purchasing a property, it's about laying a solid foundation for your financial future. The hard truths we discussed today are essential steps towards making informed decisions that can lead to lasting wealth. We encourage you to reflect on what you've learned and apply it as soon as you move forward in your homeownership journey. Stay tuned for the next part of our seminar, which is going to be next month, where we'll be diving deeper into actionable strategies for building and sustaining wealth through your real estate journey. And thank you once again for joining us today. We're excited to continue this journey with you. Thank you again, Thomas, for joining me here today and with your expertise. Thank you for being a good friend, and we'll be seeing you again soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Pierre. Appreciate it. So long.
Thank you.